G'day, Wombat here, and on today's Past Glory, we're going to take a look at a guitar from a company that no longer exists. This is a V. Looks just like any other regular Gibson V, except this is by a company called Legacy. Now Legacy aren't around anymore, they don't exist. They went out of business somewhere around 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. It's kind of hard to find a lot of information on these guys, but I remember playing these guys quite a lot from a few music shops that I used to visit round about the 2008, 2009 sort of area. And the one thing that always struck me with these guitars was they were made well and they sounded pretty good. So let's have a look at this Legacy V. It's part of the classic collection that they had going, and part of the classic, the other parts of the classic collection were things like SGs, Les Pauls, Explorers, the V. I think they even did a Strat at one point in time, but most of them were Gibson and Epiphone inspired guitars. So as you can see, this one is definitely inspired by a Gibson V. There's absolutely no denying that. So as I said, there's a lot of trouble finding direct information about these sort of things. Most of the time they were fairly true to Gibson or Epiphone form, so they would be mahogany bodies with mahogany necks, rosewood fingerboards, all fairly standard fare in that regard. No-name tuners. And something that you would find quite often on their instruments were the EMG HZ pickups in it. So they're really meant to rock and rock pretty hard. You'd also find these sort of things, which is a tuner. So we have 2 volumes and a tone and a 3-way selector switch. But on the volume pot of the bridge pickup, we have this extra ring. Now, this came standard on a lot of their instruments. It was also available aftermarket. It's essentially a tuner that's built into the guitar. It takes a battery in the back, and you would pull up the knob, and it would come to life, and you'd be able to tune up your guitar. So, you know, some of those that you'll find will still have them on, some of them will have them removed, and some of them occasionally didn't come with it on. So it's an interesting idea, never really took off, mostly because a lot of the knobs that they were using were difficult to pull up, as this one is. It's can be a bit difficult to grasp and pull up. But apart from that, it didn't affect the playability of the guitar or the sound of the guitar at all. It was just there as a tuner, and I knew a few people who owned these, and they never used them. So there you go. So as you can see, really Gibson-esque sort of fare. This particular one belongs to a friend of mine who was very lucky. He found it for about 30 bucks. And it was in some sort of shocking state. He's had to do a bit of work to get it back to playable. But some of the stuff he's done, like you can see here, he's shaved the neck on the back, and he's done a pretty good job too, because it's buttery smooth. And I believe he's intending on doing a few more things to it as well. But essentially, they're a good pickup when you find them, because they're quite well made. Now, the rumour has it that these were actually made in the same factory as the Epiphone stuff. In fact, rumour has it that these were Epiphone, just with a different branding on them. Sometimes this one just says Classic Collection. Some of them would say Legacy Classic Collection. They changed a bit, but that's the rumour, that they were made by the people that were making the Epiphone stuff, and they just put their own label on them and shipped them out the door, make a bit of money. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. There's no website for these particular instruments because, as I said, the company went out of business, but there you have it. So let's talk about playability of it. As I said, they're well made. They play pretty well too. I was really impressed with them. This particular V doesn't have the very chunky neck that some of the Epiphone and Gibson Vs have. It's quite a bit slimmer than that. It's not a shredder's neck. It's not an Ibanez Wizard style neck or anything like that. But it is exceptionally comfortable, and being buttery smooth like it is on this particular model, it's made to rock. So getting around it was really quite good. It sounded well, played well, and of course, being a V, you've got the best access in the business for the high end of the frets. So yeah, absolutely no issues with getting up the top end and playing all that lead stuff. Plenty of beef in it, good sounding. The EMG pickups, even the HZs are usually a pretty good sounding pickup as well. The HZs, of course, do clean quite nicely, so clean was not bad. But these things just love gain, so the more I fed it, the better it sounded. And as for a V, it's actually quite light. Vs are quite a long guitar, because, you know, most guitars sort of end here, and this just keeps going. So you don't want a V to be too heavy, because it would just become a nightmare to stand up and play. But this thing isn't too bad. It's not too heavy, and it plays quite well. So, as I said, he got this one for about $30. Has had to do a bit of work to get it back to playable again. But what do they go for normal sort of market value? Brand new, these things were retailing, you know, $600 to $700 mark back in about 2009, which wasn't too bad. They were pretty good value. As I said, they're well made, you know, set neck and all that sort of stuff. Second hand, I'm not finding too many on the market as it is right now, particularly the Vs. But I did see one going for about $450, which I thought was probably a little expensive. But on average, from what I can make out, they're going for usually somewhere around the $350 to $380 mark. And you know, every now and again you'll find one for $30, and if you can do that, man, it's a good deal on a guitar that plays well. And if you wanted to change a few things on it, you're still going to come under what they were brand new. So yeah, there you are, the Legacy V, part of their classic collection. They don't exist. You can find them. Lots of SGs out there, lots of LPs out there, Les Paul type guitars. The Vs are getting a bit harder to find, and the Explorers are getting a bit harder to find, but they are out there. And if you're looking for something a little bit different, but still, you know, kind of classically shaped and inspired, this might be the way to go. So there you are, the Legacy V. Quite an interesting little guitar. All right, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that button down there that says subscribe. Click the little bell too, so you get notifications for when I release a new video. And as always, rock on, guys.